morning, listeners and viewers, to the Real Stuff podcast. This morning, we have our featured guest segment, and we have with us this morning Jabulani and Priest Dougie. Jabulani came by himself the last time, but now he has Priest Dougie. Are you going to be discussing your book? And
yes,
your Marcus Garvey
yes.
show? Wonderful.
Yes.
Okay. Can we start with Priest Dougie, since you are here for the first time? Could you just tell our listeners and viewers a little about Priest Dougie?
I always ask them a hard question. Priest Dougie. Long-standing Rastafari, a student of Marcus Garvey. I'm an author, a businessman, an activist. I'm a Rasta man, moving through.
Wonderful, wonderful. All right. So, Jabulani, you could start with, what you're telling our listeners about today.
Okay, well, we want to inform your listeners that on Wednesday, August the 17th, coming up fast, 2022, the 2022 Marcus Garvey Roots Extravaganza will be taking place at the Miramar Multi-Service Complex at 6700 Miramar Parkway in Miramar, Florida. And the event starts at 7 p.m. and goes until 10 p.m. And
okay.
This Roots Extravaganza is an annual birthday celebration that we keep in honor of the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey. So, the last 2 years, because of COVID, we've had to stream live. It hasn't been live and in person, but we're returning now to a hybrid presentation of both live in person, and also we will still be streaming the event for those who may be too far away to make it. So, you can come live. We hope to see you there. And if not, then, you can be part of the whole gig by streaming live at iRelivestream.com. I'll spell that out again later in the show. And also on the Roots Foundation Facebook page.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. And the date again is Wednesday the 17th of August.
It's easy to remember. It's Marcus Garvey's birthday. So
okay.
We're Marcus Garvey's birthday celebration on his birthday.
Yes, wonderful, 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 wonderful. And what is it normally like when you had it live before the COVID? You reeled everything.
Priest Dougie, what was it like before when we were doing it live?
Yeah,
and watch your screen also. Make sure we can see your face. A part of your face is cut off when you
fall. So you have to go the other direction. Yeah.
Community program.
Yeah.
Really, and it's a fun-oriented program that's constructed to edify while entertain.
Okay. And what's the feedback over the years?
The feedback has been great. I mean, this year, the program, first of all, it's a mix. He says edutainment and to edify and all of that. So it's a mix of information, lectures. There are musical presentation, drumming, we've had dancing, we've had fashion shows, there's audio visual, so multimedia videos, you name it. It's a family affair. You'll learn about Marcus Garvey, and we're sure you'll enjoy the couple of hours that you spend with us, whether you're there in person or you're watching it somewhere on a digital platform.
Okay. Question I have to ask though. Over the years, are you seeing that the take-up of people wanting to learn more about Marcus Garvey have been increasing?
Chris.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. In a great volume or what?
Well, I wouldn't say in a great volume, but I've seen the increase, the growth, you know, not just in our attendance, but in ones that are curious, about Garvey and what Garvey did, especially in his birthplace,
Okay.
Jamaica, more,
Uh,
which,
uh,
wa- which was very lacking because of, it was not something that was topical. It wasn't Garvey's philosophy hasn't been taught in school. It is just now being implemented in in being phased in. So the change is gradually taking place and same way the growth gradually happens.
So they are phased it in now in Jamaica. That is very good news. Very very good news. And the work continues.
Yeah,
this year, let me add some more details for those who are curious to know more about the Marcus Garvey Roots Extravaganza. The guest speaker this year will be UWI professor of 36 years, Professor Carolyn Cooper. And we've been privileged to get like a pre-release transcript of her presentation that she will be making. And the title of it is very provocative and interesting. You know, um, why can't we listen to Marcus Garvey? That's the topic and the theme. And
Wow.
she's asking the question. And I guess in her presentation, she'll give you some answers as to what she thinks is going on with our people, why Marcus Garvey is a hero, but maybe we're not listening to him as we should.
Yeah.
So, she will be making that lecture presentation. We have a annual community service awards that we also do as part of this event. And this year, we're giving a posthumous Lifetime Achievement Award to Marcus Garvey Jr., who was living
Okay.
here in Florida with us up in West Palm Beach, up in Wellington. The last couple of years of his life, he wasn't so well, and he passed away 2 years ago. So we were never able to get him here in person while he was alive to give him his award, which is what we had wanted to do. So we think this is a timely um, injunction to try to give him the award. Even after he's gone, he did his works. He was, I think, the 7th President General of the UNIA, the organization his father started. And, he certainly did his part. So we want to recognize him and his Jean Garvey, Mrs. Jean Garvey, she will, his wife, she will receive the award on his behalf and also say a few words about what it was like to be the wife of a
Yes.
UNIA President General, because people in the struggle, you name them, from Mandela to Malcolm to Martin, you call them,
Yes.
their family life suffers. So, it's not so easy to be a family, a wife, a son, a daughter, a brother, a cousin to a real activist. So she's going to speak to a little of that in her presentation. So, that should be interesting for people to hear, something they don't hear all the while.
Wonderful. You have an agenda so people can know when these are coming on?
Well, the agenda for this is every August the 17th.
No, no, I mean on the day itself.
we're talking about a programming.
Your program, yes.
Well, we have a program. I mean, the program is more for the participants more than for the audience. But
Okay, okay.
be there on time. That's the important thing. We don't do a Jamaica time thing. So if you come 7:30, you're going to miss a chunk. So
Yes,
7 sharp.
yes, yes. And it's a short time, you pack a lot of things in, so people can devote that 3 hours to Marcus Garvey.
You'll be so surprised to know that that 3 hours goes so fast that the people even want more because by the time
Linger after.
yes, we have to ask them to leave so we can get the people and to close up them place when it's done because It sounds a lot, but that 3 hours passed because
It's not enough.
No, when I heard 3 hours in, I was saying to myself, say, that seemed very short, yeah, for a big program like that.
We have to work within the constraints of our partners. We're working
Yeah,
this with the city of Miramar. You know, it's being put on. You see, Priest Dougie, he's the president of the Roots Foundation. I am the vice president. And
okay.
this is a Roots Foundation production we've been doing for the past 18 years.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, over the time, we've done it in association with the Broward County Library, the city of Fort Lauderdale, Lauderdale Lakes, Davie, Pembroke Pines. So this time we're doing it for the first time in association with the city of Miramar. So, you know, there are constraints in terms of the facilities and et cetera, et cetera. So, you know, we give thanks for the opportunity, and, you know, your 3 hours will be well spent. You know, we'll put a lot
Yes.
into it.
Welcome, Courtney.
Yes, morning.
everything
Welcome,
Yeah, man,
Jabulani.
greetings.
Please, Dougie. Yeah,
regular.
bless up.
Yeah, man. So as he said, you know, it's a power pack program. So you won't have a minute to spare. And like he said, if you snooze, you lose. If you come late, you're gonna miss a shot.
Yes, yes. I can imagine.
Everyone to come on time, take your seat and enjoy. You know, because like you said, it's an edutainment program.
Yeah. You want to jump in, Courtney? We're speaking about the...
Marcus Garvey, Roots
The Marcus Garvey
Extravaganza.
celebration
Yes,
in Miramar. Okay.
yes.
But beyond the celebration itself, the reason why we do this is to keep the knowledge, the memory, and the legacy of Marcus Mosiah Garvey, our first national hero of Jamaica, alive in the mind. And
Yeah.
in transcending Jamaica, Marcus Garvey is a world figure.
Oh, yes.
Because what he has done has inspired many, many leaders throughout the world. Many, many leaders give credence to his philosophy and opinion. You know, so we celebrate that legacy every August. That is what it's really about. You know, showing the people how relevant Garvey's teaching is today in the 21st century.
Well, what I read some time ago was that when Nkrumah and Kenyatta were students in England,
Yes, sir.
holiday time came and they didn't go back home. They headed for New York to sit at the feet of the great man. So he has been inspiring world leaders from a long, long time ago.
Yes, sir. And for those know who, go ahead, Dougie.
Oh, I said he certainly has.
And for those know who might be starting to get more interested if you weren't before, after hearing some of this conversation, if you can't make it live, I say you can catch it streaming on IRILivestream.com. IRI, I-R-I-E, live, L-I-V-E, stream, S-T-R-E-A-M, IRILivestream.com, or at the Facebook page for Roots Foundation. So, you know, we hope to see you there, of course, but if not, like I say, be part of the program by tuning into the live stream.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
I'll definitely will mark that down and make sure I'm there. Prince Dougie, if you could go a little to your right. I think it's
Right?
no, the other way, the other way.
Other way.
My
Yeah,
Ah,
do it
wonderful.
first. Yeah.
Yeah, wonderful. Now you are almost dead center.
Yeah, I moved around trying to pick up something.
You
Well,
could go a little bit more in the same direction. Just a little bit more.
Yeah.
Yes, great.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're
but
saying it's flying
Flavius, another fact that people don't really remember or maybe don't know, that the first flag of Ghana was the red, black, and green.
Yeah.
Independent Ghana, yeah.
Yeah, man. Nkrumah was very, very close to him. Very impressed with him. 'Cause I read quite a bit of Nkrumah, his writings and stuff. And that is one of well, one of the persons that he got most of his inspiration.
Well, like I said, he inspired many ones, even as
Even
far as
Nair.
even as far
Nair
as
spoke
Asia,
about him too.
Yeah,
even as far as Asia, with one of the Chinese freedom fighters,
yeah.
who Mao Zedong, who was a student, did have to say, of Garvey, who was inspired, who used to smuggle Garvey's paper into his region, and so they could view it and be inspired by the Negro world.
But when America, when they took over Ghana from Nkrumah, that's where he was headed. He was heading to see Mao and couldn't return.
Yeah.
I must also say, before we forget and we run out of time, that this year's 2020 Marcus Garvey Roots Extravaganza will be under the patronage of Jamaica's hardworking Consul General, Mr. Oliver Mayer.
Okay,
And
wonderful.
that's timely, as we're also observing the 60th anniversary of Jamaica's independence right now. So,
Yes.
this is all going on, as part of the general set of activities that happens in August. That priest, Dougie, what you call it, priest? Black August?
Yes, sir.
Tell the
Oh,
people about tell the people about Black August.
Black August was established to honor those that fought and have, given the ultimate for I and I as a people to be where we are. It was established by coming from the Jackson brothers, some ex-Panthers that were imprisoned, wrongfully, just because they were Panthers standing up for their community and for their rights. And at the time, as you know, in America, it was that, it hasn't changed much. It still is that racist
Kill them or prison them.
Yeah, racist environment they lived under. So, So that month, August, was set aside for I and I to reminisce on, our heroes and our heroes.
And also coming from Marcus Garvey, because Marcus Garvey's organization, the UNIA, kept its annual conventions, for most of the month of August. So, Emancipation Day is 1st of August. For those of us who came through the Caribbean, British Caribbean. And then, as I said, the UNIA in 1920, over 100 years ago, the first UNIA convention in New York City had 25,000 Black African people from all over the world in attendance at the newly constructed Madison Square Garden. And, there are a lot of pictures on the internet you can see of all the street parades and, all these African Black people dressed up in their different uniforms, the African Legions and the Black Cross nurses, and we've all seen Garvey in his uniform with his plumes and all of that. This is what Garvey was bringing, a sense of pride and dignity and togetherness amongst the people over 100 years ago, until his movement was destroyed, because it didn't just fall apart naturally by itself. It was deliberately destroyed from without and from within.
oh yes, oh yes. But the foresight, man, the foresight of Garvey from so long ago, seeing
that's why
seeing the
prophet.
future.
That's why we call him the prophet. The
Yes.
visionary. He was able to see ahead of his time and see what was ahead for I and I as a people. And that's why he left the legacy of literature that he did to help, guide us, chart a path into that future. See.
Read the philosophy and opinions of Marcus Garvey, required reading for all African Black people.
Oh yes.
You'll learn a lot, yes. And I think I'm going to be I'm going to be, whatever is the word, I can't think of the word, but I'm going to make a transition, a natural transition You know, we're also here to talk about the book. Priest Dougie and I recently, a year ago now, published a book called Rastafari in the 21st
First
Century.
century, yes.
What life
Yes.
has taught I and I. And it's a tribute to the Rastafari elders. But no, before we get into all of that, for people who, again, are interested in Marcus Garvey, you will find in this book, just naturally, as part of the I story and as part of the tradition, Marcus Garvey's name and his works and his deeds are mentioned in this book from the first chapter to the very last chapter, because Marcus Garvey plays a big role in the whole development of the Rastafari movement and in the whole development of Jamaica and the world. So, you know,
Yeah, and not only that,
that's another reason to get this book, to find out more about Marcus Garvey.
and why he's so profoundly involved in the book again as well is because I and I also grew up intimately with the family. So in telling the story, you know, he's part of I and I story as well, and I personal recollection of I and I liberty. Growing up with the family and being inspired by the family. People like Mother Ruth Prescott, who was the only daughter of Marcus's sister, Virginia. And she had one son, Charlie, who I went to Calabar with. So I grew up very close. She was like a second mother. So I spent many days at her home, you know, and she was who helped Brother Rupert and Tony Martin, Rupert Lewis and
Lewis.
Tony Martin, you know, and Bobby.
The Garvey scholars.
Yeah, all those Garvey scholars that did their research and their writing. She was part of that research. You know? So I was privileged at a young age to be reading Garvey's writing that was written in pencil by his own hand, you know, and to be able to reason with her and learn from her, you know, her understanding of her uncle. So he has inspired I and I in a profound way, is what really I'm alluding.
That is fantastic.
Yes. But Jabulani, I realized something doing it, that most of the Rastafarian elders were Garveyites.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, because the ones that I knew when I was growing up, they were always, you know, at Garvey statue in race course, because I used to go to those Sunday meetings. You know, as I said, and you have mentioned that in your book, and when we spoke the last time, that's where I met Rasta historian.
Okay. Yeah, and we talk about him in the book too.
I spoke about him in the book. You know, so, you know, so I, you know, when I look at it and, you know, seeing that this correlationship with the Rasta and the teachings of Marcus Garvey, you know, I said, oh, you know, so that is the real connection why, you know, those elders are so grounded in the philosophy.
Garvey was a forerunner, you know, of the movement. He was a forerunner. It is on his philosophy that Rastafari became concretized, because, you know, whether it is a folklore or whether it was something
Historical fact.
Yeah, historical fact. You know, one of the founding principles of Rastafari is Garvey's prophesying of a king that would be crowned, and that when that king is crowned, I and I as Rastafari should embrace him, you know, and it would also mark a time when Africa's redemption would be nigh. So that is a philosophy that the founding elders embraced dearly, establishing Garvey within our eyes as a seer, as a visioneer, you know. What they
Okay.
call
Yeah, it never means stop. You just say, okay, keep going.
yeah, man, you know. But still, yeah. Like I say, you know, that's where the foundation of the interaction is based. you know, and we all as Rastafari became Garvey students. Like you said, I grew up around history, Sam Brown, Bona G's, Blackheart, Jalide, McCullin, and they were all Garvey students. You'd always hear them quoting something from Garvey that inspired them, you know, to be the person that they are, or to be involved in the agitation and struggle that they were.
Yeah.
And all of that is in the book. You know, all of that is entrenched in the book, you know. Because
Okay.
the book is an historical fact that ties in both the Pan-African struggle and the Rastafari struggle. Because it's one and the same. We are just an arm of the Pan-African family.
So, you know, as your book talks about the 21st century and, you know, this transition, so what is happening now? Because I see that the younger Rastafarians that are coming up, they have like walked away from this kind of tradition and philosophy.
Priest, you again.
Well, yeah, well, I'm chewing that my way because I have a portion of youth that are young man and young woman today, and the struggle is keeping them grounded and centered. Now, Rastafari, we have to face the reality because we have faced the system the way we have faced down this system. You know, we are public enemy number one for many years, and we were left out of the umbrella that covers society. You know, we weren't allowed to pursue higher education with our native, so we didn't go after that. We weren't allowed to hold certain jobs, and you know, everyone knows the history. See, that has set us back. That is part of the whole reparation that I and I is chanting for right now, because that held I and I forward, because I and I don't endorse partisan politics again. And you know that places where we come from are strongly based on politics and its influence. And being that we as a segment of that society don't take part into the partisanness of it. You understand? We are left out of certain amenities, certain privileges, certain rights.
Benefits.
Yeah, we are left out. We are robbed of certain rights because of that. So that has hampered the growth and the development of the movement. Now the youths, them coming up in a fast age. What took I and I 100 years to achieve is achieved in months, years if not months today. So because of that, the youths, them are looking outside for that advancement. You know, because we were not able to achieve that with the oppression on our back. Unlike what you see the Jewish people have, and even the Nation of Islam in the US, where they have their own schools, you know, their own churches, their own supermarkets. They have a whole structure that keeps their culture intact. The Jews are able to pass on the legacy of their grandparents to their upcoming generation because they have a base to do that. The children go to their synagogue and they go to their Jewish school that reinforces that culture. Today, we don't have that. We are still struggling against the status quo. And, you know, if you look at the history of most freedom fighters, most people that devote them life to make a difference and to make a change, you know, they always end up, you know, poverty-ridden. Marcus Garvey, as one more, ended up in England, you understand, penniless, like all other ones that you can name, whether it is Kwame Ture or whoever. We all struggle too when it comes to economics because we spend most of our time agitating and fighting for the justice and the rights of our people. So that in a nutshell has hampered our development, and that now doesn't make for an attractive environment to the younger generation. So the work is ahead of us to change that. Rastafari has to step into this. That's why you need to read the book. Rastafari has to step into this 21st century with a change. We're at a crossroad, and we have to make the right decision which way we're going to turn. Because if we don't, one way going to lead to a miry clay. You understand? Quicksand. One way lead to a rocky path full of stone. You know? And then there's a direction that can lead you to progress. Which is the way what we are looking to go, you know, educating our people, equipping our younger generation with the skill sets that they need to survive in this country.
Yeah, so what the priest is saying in so many words right now, one of the problems facing the movement in recent decades is lack of structure and organization. And, you know, that is what needs to be established in this time. And as you said, there's this disconnect between the elders and the youths. And this book was written.
Purposely done, not by chance.
And this book was written now as one effort to try to reconnect. When you talk about the rift, right now, most youths today, and even a lot of brothers and sisters my age, are not fully aware of the sacrifices and the achievements of those who we call elders, who we came and saw as bigger man to us when we were coming up 18, 19, 20. You know, you had other big man who is 40, 50, 60 going up. Those were the elders. Right now, in the 30s and the 40s and the 50s and in the 60s, those Rastafari brethren and sisters went through all kind of persecution, from being beaten and trimmed with glass buckle and cutlass and ratchet knife and terrible beatings. The story is there. Right now, a lot of
incident, the Coral Gardens incident,
that whole thing.
Yeah, where the Prime Minister himself declared open season on Rastafari. You understand?
Right now, a lot of people don't know about these things, so that's why part of the disconnect. So the book was written to try to, like we say inside the book, lest we forget, because as now these elders have been transitioning and are leaving us and going to the ancestors, their memory is fading in a lot of people's mind. And we want to remind the youth of the movement, the middle-aged ones in the movement like our age, Jamaicans on a whole, the world on a whole needs to know about, the achievements and the struggles and the sacrifices that these brothers made. Because when you hear about Rastafari and then the message music that, we all love and that made Jamaica world famous, is a Rasta heartbeat was behind all of it. But who were those brothers and sisters? This book tells you a little bit of that story.
And even gives you some history that people don't know, and correct some
misinformation.
Yes, because talk about one of the predecessors of the Rastafari movement.
Mr. Bedward?
Alexander Bedward, who people
thought was a madman.
Yes, they mocked
Yep, yeah, he was put across like that, yes, he was.
It was done specifically to defame the man, that he couldn't lose the influence that he had.
Same thing they tried to do to Marcus Garvey.
He was giving the status quo hell. But if you want to know the story, yeah man, look into the book. It is going to give you more than you can find on Google. I guarantee you. Because we spoke and we grew up with some of the ones that lived it.
That will make some very, very good reading.
Yeah,
go ahead, Corte.
Yeah, man, I just want to talk about a little, because you mentioned about structure and all of that, which is true that, the Rastafarian movement don't have this structure. But one of the things that caught my attention when you were talking about Garvey and certain things, it was that there's no economic viability in the Rasta movement. No one has set up this kind of structure, or mobilization to, do something, set up an industry, do things that can really develop, the movement, economically. And I think that's one of the drawbacks or the setbacks. What do you think?
Let me take it. Let me take it first, Dougie, and then we throw it back to you. First of all, right now, we need to start to do again what has been done and what we used to do before. And by that I mean, if you look at the history of the movement, Howell had a place called Pinnacle that was doing all of what you just said a while ago. And Jamaican police and soldiers mash it up and mash up the place and thief the people them crops and burn up them things and run them away and put Howell in a prison how many times for doing those kind of things. So it has been done by us and by the elders, but what we are saying, we need now to revive those kind of principles and establish some new ones fitting for the time in the 21st century. Priest, burn.
Yeah, and to just follow up in what you're saying, not just the Pinnacle. Again, I'm going to go back before Pinnacle. Bedward and the Union camp.
Yeah, same thing again, yes.
Alexander Bedward and the Union camp. People, look it up. Yeah, man, he established a commune that was self-sufficient, was independent from the society of Jamaica. See, in the sense that they did not rely on handouts or something from government or politics money or nothing like that. They were artisan and craftsmen and teachers, and they did their thing. As a matter of fact, they built one of the most beautiful churches of that time out of rock.
That was
hailed in the Western Hemisphere as one of the great
some
monuments
architectural monuments
of that moment. So that is Bedward. Come down now, as I already touched on Pinnacle. Then now you have Bobo Hill with Prince Emmanuel.
Same thing again.
During my time growing with Prince Emmanuel from a youth, we never looked to Babylon for nothing, and we never want or need of nothing. We were the first entity to have solar. We have solar from the 70s. People just talk about solar power today. We have solar from Bobo Hill from the 70s. Being power in our office and power in our printing room. See, because we were Garvey students, we were printers, we print our own doctrine and our own rhetoric. You understand? So Bobo Hill again was another success story. But these places are not allowed to flourish. You understand? The status quo will not allow an entity like that to become an example or a sample. Because what if everyone cite that and decides to follow that pattern now? People start to organize themselves into independent pockets and seeing that them really don't need these politicians. Deal with your local government people and organizing your community and with your parish council and them, because you don't need them little MP guy.
That is subversive talk, Bridget.
All right. So because of that, them come down and do entities like that and destroy them, because them don't want that to happen. See, they don't want the people to emancipate themselves from mental
slavery. There you go. There you go.
So again, Rastafari, and to answer your question directly, my brethren, why I and I have not seen that type of move in this time is because the privileged Rastafari who have broken through the
economic barrier
and have stepped out of the chains of poverty, they are not built the way that the activists are. They are not seeing the mission the way the activists are. Or they would have endeavored to do that, to put some foundation in place. You understand? So that is the problem. The privileged ones are not giving back their 1/10 to the community, as has been established as a principle from old.
Oh, I do agree with you, because I am familiar with the story and the beginning of a particular sect. Because one of my good friends was part of it. He started it and involved in it. So I knew the whole thing, how it started, you know. And I've seen that these people over the years have become affluent. And I'm saying, I mean, these people should have been doing something to help the movement to grow and all of that, but they get caught up in this whole ego trip.
Capitalism is the dominant culture, Remember, say it's the dominant ideology, that is accepted by the world, because the way it is placed, they make it sound like it is a right for every man to overachieve and to step on anyone on the way up. And dog eat dog and only the strongest survive. They don't teach the principle that it is the duty of the strong to uplift the weak. You understand? Them don't teach you, say, to whom much is given, much is required. See, those principles are lost with the elders. And that is what Jabulani was talking to when he says the knowledge is fading away already. The history of what was achieved, just like how you asked that question, the history of what was done and achieved is fading. And in some cases, it was murky because of how propaganda and the state played. You understand? So our duty in being what they call journalists or researchers or griots, historians, is to correct some of that misinformation. And that is what we are attempting to do in our literary writing that, I speaking of this moment.
What's your take on the whole, well, not idea, but fact of life that Africa is such a huge market and the Caribbean is not or have not been trading ever with Africa?
Please, go on.
What a question. Love it.
Yeah, good question too. Go on.
Love it, man. All right, I could jump on one segment. We talk about the disconnect between the youth and the elders, and now we're going to talk about the disconnect between Africa, the continent, and the diaspora. You understand? Because within the diaspora,
deliberate again.
The leadership is the problem if you look throughout the whole black world.
The neo-colonial leadership.
Yes, it's not the white man that's the problem, or the red man, or any other man that's the problem at this point in the black development. No, because we don't expect nothing different from them than who they are. The problem is our leadership. Black man is suffering from the lack of leadership, from the Walter Rodneys and the Nkrumahs and the Burning Spear, the Kenyattas and those transcended. See, just like from the Bono G's and the Sam
Julius Nyeri.
Yeah, from them transcended, like we can't replace those kind of leaders with this kind of conviction that they have. Our leaders that we are getting today are taught by the capitalists to be capitalists. So they have that one set mind to come in and achieve. They are not taught duty. They are not taught responsibility. And that is the problem. We need good leadership. Now, a bridge. Let's look at it. Look how blind the leadership is. Africa is the richest continent in the world. Anyone want to challenge that?
So I
cannot be challenged.
All right. And our leaders in the diaspora don't see the urgency for build a bridge between the continent and the diaspora. Rastafari, I've been telling them for years, Senai and I won. Yeah,
and that's what Marcus Garvey was trying to do with his Black Star Line.
Yes.
Move goods and services back and forth, not one direction, back and forth.
Yep, and all around.
And build it. No, because I know it's Rasta and we say back to Africa. And
you say he was a madman.
And no, I'm saying today, because I and I, Rastafari, is saying back to Africa. See? And
we is madman now.
Repatriation. No one is listening to the wisdom of the Rastafari. Because what we are saying, we're not saying everyone must go to Africa and every black man must get up and go to Africa. That is unrealistic. We're not
Some
saying
are
every
no
Rasta-
good here and will be no good there. Words of
we're not
Marcus
saying every
Garvey.
Rastafari must take up himself and go. It has to be a structured move. So within that structuring, you build that bridge that can economically benefit both regions. So the governments in the West see the benefit of their citizens now, or their whatever they want to call I and I, leaving and returning to our continent because they are seeing now the economic line that is attached. Because Africa accepts I and I as the sixth region. It's just now I and I to build that relationship and become a member of the African family. We are moving between the two regions freely without the hampering of visas and other bureaucracy that Babylon has taught us.
Travel.
Just like how you would do in CARICOM. What CARICOM is supposed to be for the Caribbean region, or what them call it up in Europe there? The European Union is for that region. Right now there is a cohesiveness and some interconnections beyond the ordinary.
So we're not mad. We're not mad people. We're not just randomly saying something. We have thought this thing through. Repatriation to I has been our main initiative, for decades and decades. So each generation who have achieved a higher level of education has come and added to it, to the construct of it. So our concept of repatriation is not like it was 50 years ago, because everything has evolved. So our concept has also evolved. So the bridge that we speak of, as you alluded to, brethren, that could be an economic benefit for both regions, because Africa needs certain intellects to come and help shore up their economic engine as well.
Certain skills and skilled workers.
So we don't have to send away our raw material, our natural resources to Europe
to be
to
processed elsewhere
and sold back to us at
a higher rate.
We have people in the West here that have that knowledge. Now, when that bridge is built, they will see the economic viability to cross the bridge and do some work with them own people and make some real money like they would have made in the West. So it shows now, it encourages now the brain return instead of the brain drain. You understand? So Rasta start this thing out, but people not listening. You understand? Just like how them forget about old Marcus Garvey and listen to Marcus Garvey and his philosophy. Because Garvey is who taught all of this. You see, all those leaders that first got independence both on the continent and in the Caribbean were influenced by the philosophy of the Honorable Prophet Marcus Messiah Garvey.
Just to let's talk about the point of leadership again. Do you think that there's some kind of fear within the younger generation to come up and step up and be this kind of bold leader because of how the political systems are set up?
I think they have too much distraction, Rasta. I think it's a distraction. I don't think it's fear, because them youth are well challenging. I don't see, in some of them youth, I don't see fear. Because some things what them youth are doing, this generation is doing, is heartless and fearless. They are challenging the authorities. Look at what go on in Montego Bay. A shootout go on right here, so on the police station, the right there, so police there on the corner over there, so them youth is not fear. It's not fear that hampering this. It's the fact that we are living in a material age, an age of technology. They have so much distraction. And like I said, we have not created the foundation to keep them focused. You understand? We are now constructing the foundation, is what I am really saying. People like I and I have now reached to the stage where we have a voice. The elders before I and I, they did their job, Their job wasn't to do what our job is, because they didn't have that tool. They did their job. They decoded the Bible and the history books to find the truth and place the truth before us. Now we have the truth. We have found ourselves. We know who we are, and we have the privilege of higher education. So it's our duty now to construct that solid foundation that will bring back the youth them to the fold, where they can see a space for themselves. They can see a future for themselves and them family. See, because you can't show people that, you know, it's just like you can't teach a hungry man about God. You first have to feed him. When you feed him, you sit down and listen to you. Well, that is the reality of the youth. We need to show them how they can progress within this movement and this development. And they will apply them skill sets fearlessly to it.
No, so Priest Dougie, you know, one of the things that, you know, really kind of mind-boggling to me is this, that, you know, these youth, yes, they're fearless, but because, you know, of their negative activities, the system, you know, don't see it as a threat, because anytime you have people who are like organized and doing positive things, we know that, you know, those people get the most, you know, the biggest fights.
And,
You know,
and
according to
Bridget,
the political structure, you know.
but Bridget, remember to, you know, it's a deliberate thing, must be worldwide, to dumb down this generation. So from public schooling to what you see on the television, to the kind of video games that are out there, to anti-social media, because I say this media is really anti-social. You know, all of these things is a dumbing down process. So this is what now the youths of today have to go against. You know,
and deliberately done. And
yeah, of course, to take away their creativity and the independence of thought and all of these kind of things. So the distractions that Priest Dougie was talking about, it's a technological bombardment. We're being swamped by electronic signals that have people walking around like zombies and driving around like zombies. Virgin, it's a serious time.
Well, look at this now. During the 60s and 70s, you had what was called rocksteady ska that evolved into reggae. Now, the king of reggae was crowned. Bob Marley and the Wheelers them. I owe him say Bob Marley. The Wailing Wheelers is crowned the kings of reggae. Yeah, are the four runners of reggae there. Now, you have a Bob Marley, Peter Tosh, Bunny Wheeler, you have a Burning Spear, and an endless list of musical ambassadors that was traveling the world, spreading the doctrine of peace and love, of one love, of all of that niceness. And our society reject it because it wasn't inciting the kind of unconsciousness that they wanted in their constituents. So,
and because some naughty buried man, them a do it, who call themselves Rasta and smoke ganja, but them say mad people, which we come to find out is the healing of the nation and saving people's life.
And beyond that, they were afraid of the philosophy, because the philosophy teach you to be a thinker, a critical thinker, and to be self-reliant. That don't play into politics. So now they wanted to remove that influence. That's why them bulldoze down Bakawal, you know, and destroy Trenchtown, you know, to get out that influence out of the inner city. And what they did was replace it with what? Garrisons.
Political gunmen.
Where now you can have heroes like a cartel, you know, who is a criminal and an unscrupulous person being
a bleacher,
being worshipped. I don't even care about that part. It is even worse. The man is a murderer. The man do all kind of criminal activity, and people in Jamaica talk about him like him is a hero, like him is somebody. People, you have all people agitate for him to come out of jail. And when Lisa Hannah speak out and say, "Nah, man, a man do the crime, him have to do the time," people threaten our life. So that is the society that Jamaica has become. See, no, we not fight against the dancehall, you know. on a level, you know, because it brings food for the youth. Youth them eat food outside, them get to travel, them get to. What we're fighting about is the way in which the society has encouraged dancehall, the genre of dancehall.
That negative genre, negative side of it.
Because you did have a dancehall when you did have Big Youth, you know. You did have a dancehall when you did have Brigadier Jerry, you know. Seeing?
When you have Roy.
And all of those brethren that were giving messages to the people, messages of upliftment. And then replace it with the gun talk and the derogatory talk about
and all of that.
And all of these madness and the bleaching and all of these
and
negative
the bling.
And now the scamming and all of these things. You understand? These are what they replace the culture with, you know. And them
back in our pirates.
And then now them crying out. Now that it get out of control. Now that the government of Jamaica have no control over the violence that is taking place in Jamaica. See? And that is one of my pet peeves. When you touch upon something like that, you touch upon that Dougie pet peeve, because when them all kill all a man like Tabby Diamond and the world no stop, something wrong. When you kill a youth like Gargan, the man that was footballer from the 70s, humble Rasta youth, when a trouble no one. And through the violence where Jamaica embraced these heroes that have left, that have created the legacy of Jamaica, are falling by the wayside. Those monuments falling and you're not even hearing a knife.
Not falling, being cut down.
All right, being torn down, and we're not even hearing a sound when them fall. We don't. You barely hear. You be hear cut. No, it's not condolences. I want to hear. I want to hear action. What are we going to do to change it? To stop them things there from happening? To change the mindset of the people. The people need an education program. You have to. We have to. What Carter G. Woodson say? There was a book where Carter G. did write. The
miseducation of the Negro.
And the re-education.
Yep. It's necessary.
We need a re-education of our society.
Emancipate yourself from mental slavery.
And not just Jamaica, but throughout the diaspora and the continent, we need an education program to rise back the divine consciousness in I people. So them can see them divine self again and stop looking at themselves as gal and boy.
And do something to save the environment, because right now in another 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years, the whole world going to see that, hey, we've already lost the battle to try to save the world, because nothing is changing fast enough.
Feel the heat to this summer year. Look at what took place in Europe.
The floods and the fires and the, oh gosh.
And then you have the mad people like the president of Brazil who destroying,
chopping down the Amazon rainforest.
Then you have the Chinese them who in a Madagascar, deforesting Madagascar, having silt erosion, tearing down the place and polluting the river them. So, Brethren, if we don't change, if the world doesn't change its approach to development and to human interaction and to coexistence, we are on a path to hell.
And these are all the things that the Rastaman has been championing over the years. You know, health and wellness. Ital is vital, what they call health food today, and vegan and all of these things. Love of the earth and the animals and the trees and the river, what they call now being environmentally conscious today. You know, all of these things has been near and dear to I and I as Rasta and to the elders who came before us. And these are the things we want to pass on and see flourish and grow in the younger generation. So the words of the book, and when we champion Marcus Garvey, it's all in the same kind of avenue, you know, trying to uplift our people.
Educate the youth them to be fathers and mothers.
Yeah.
Stop being rabbits. Stop. We still maintaining the season farm mentality of slavery. Seeing where we are breed up that of them.
Breed and move on.
And we're not parenting the child, and the child come out to be a plague on society.
A killer.
You understand? These are the education programs that need to be implemented. You understand? Rites of passage. You understand? Teaching a youth him responsibility when him growing to manhood.
As an adult.
You understand? These are things, these are measures that the society, if them don't embrace it, Rasta.
Taking a village to raise the child, not leaving it on no nuclear mother and nuclear father.
And no virtuality. And no virtuality, no TV, and no tablet, and no laptop.
For the babysitting and do the teaching.
I'm on 1-year-old baby. Parents give them phone.
Madness.
to keep them busy. And you know, how much, you know how much radiation that little baby is getting to retard him brain.
In a little brain.
See? But because that is the world where we're in. You understand? So that is what we face, and that is what the Rasta man has been warning about, telling you about. And that is the kind of teaching that is needed to be reinstituted if we want to bring back the society. I am not saying to teach them Rasta culture and that with a Rasta. No, teach the people the truth about themselves, their history, what their foreparents have done. Teach the truth. Teach the truth of what you call sustainable development, eco-friendly development. That means our mindset have to change. If you're going to cut down a tree, you must be willing to plant two, at least. You can't keep paving the earth and building pure concrete on the earth. Because not so slow. I and I are the watchers of humanity. That's what Rastafari comes to, the conscience of the people. We follow out the truth. So a little more from now, we don't have no excuse. When the judgment comes, we can't say, we never
can't say never hear.
Because the voice going call out of the wilderness. Yeah, but the Rasta man been saying it.
Can't say me never did I warn you.
Like the voice in the wilderness that nobody listening to.
Oh Lord, I tell you.
Yes, my brother.
Yes, Priest Dougie. You made a point that I would like you to talk a little bit about, you know, the whole subversion of the culture. Because while you were talking about the dancehall, you know, what happened in the dancehall, I looked at what was happening in America too with hip hop. Because we see the similarities. Yeah, you know, so this whole subversion of our culture, you know, what is needed to me, and you know, maybe, you know, this is what I want to ask about now. How do we reverse in our indigenous culture and, you know, have an appreciation for it?
We have to reevaluate. We have to revalue what is ours. You understand? It has been devalued. The youth, them have been taught to be shock and jivers. They are professional shock and jivers, going along to get along. You understand? That's the only the producers and them guys where I deal with the music industry. You understand? Like Michael Jackson said, Tony Matola is a devil. Well, the whole of them are devil because they are the one that is encouraging and influencing the youth them to do the kind of music that we are hearing. You understand? So they have created this generation where lewd and slutty music is attractive. Culture is boring. You understand? They are not taught the value of culture, how it represents them. You see, like, all right, for instance, when you look today, when I first started to travel, you know, I was a spectacle. When I first got to Toronto, I was a spectacle. People that gather and follow me and all of that. This man here with this big thing on him head and him here, face beard up. Same thing in the US when I land at US places. See? Now today, when you look down to the reverend of blacks, everybody have blacks as a form of black identity. You understand? Identifying themselves with them blackness now. It is now trending and politically correct because, you know, the whole Black Lives Matter struggle or movement has brought enlightenment to them. See? So them, you know, now everybody can identify with them black. They are forced to, not if can, they are forced to identify with them black. People like Halle Berry and Tiger Woods, who in interviews stated that they have been confused growing up of who they are because of them environment. Now them don't have no confusion. You understand? I have seen them standing up now on behalf of Black Lives Matter. See? So I appearance as Rastafari has now become trending. Everybody have locks. Well, in that same way in which Black people have embraced that aspect of culture, we need to find a way to make them reconnect with their divine aspect of the culture. That humanistic, altruistic vibe that Africans always did, you know, foster. That village love. I am my brother's keeper type of thing. We have to find a way to reach
and how do we do that? Right now, one of the things now, it's on the media people like yourself, because it's people on the radio, people on the TV, people with internet media connections, the kind of programming that's put out. And then it's on the cultural entertainers, you know, the singers, the dancers, the artists, the writers. What kind of material do you put out? Is it uplifting? Is it culturally edifying? Is it conscious? You know, when you put all of these things together and you have the cultural material, the poets and the singers and the artists and the athletes and the sports people now, when they get conscious, like Bill Russell was conscious, like Muhammad Ali was conscious, like Tommy Smith and his Black Power salute were conscious, like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, you know, these kind of athletes who have a political consciousness and they use their platform to advance.
Hold on. What my youth did name when he lump on him knee there? We can't let him out, you know.
Oh, Colin Kaepernick.
Yes,
Yeah.
Mr. Kaepernick. Kaepernick.
The Roots Magazine Sportsman of the Year. You can't forget Colin Kaepernick. He was following in the tradition of all these other athletes and activists who came before. And this is the tradition we want to reawake, because it has been deliberately mashed down. All of those kind of activities here in America, in England, in Canada, in Jamaica, in Africa, you know, the struggle for self-identity and unity for African Black people is under siege everywhere. The Black man and now the Black woman and the Black child, it's open season. You know, we are an endangered species, man, woman, and child, everywhere in the world.
And I have to big up FIFA, the Football Federation, for their stand against racism. For all that I see them doing now, they are allowing their athletes to take the knee and their whole program against racism. You understand? I give thanks, you know, see it, and I have to acknowledge it. Wherever you see the effort is being made, it deserves to be acknowledged. So FIFA, big up for your stand.
Yeah, because that is a world stage right there. Truly. Yes, Bridget. So
you have to endeavor to persevere, you know, and do what that is what we lack as leadership today.
Lick that movie quote. Have to endeavor to persevere.
Yes.
Yeah. Movie buffs will know where that line comes from.
So that has been the of the African.
Yeah.
We have persevered through all, and we are still here today. You know, see what we need to do now.
Ethiopians live it out.
Yeah, what we need to see is the power of ourselves.
Yeah.
And embrace that power. You know, see, and we need to re-educate the youth about, you know, who they are, so they can have that self-esteem, that consciousness, and that confidence is the word I'm looking for. That confidence in themselves. You understand? Which is what one of Garvey is teaching, you know. Man, if you lack confidence, you have failed before you begin. But with confidence, you have won. The man said, with confidence, you have won.
So we have come full circle, right, to Marcus Garvey again, because now, how do you inspire that confidence? You provide role models who can be an inspiration that what this one has done, you can do. So when we talk about Marcus Garvey and all of these heroes and sheroes, we're not doing this for a trivial pursuit or to go on Jeopardy. We are trying to give you practical examples that what these ones have done, you can do if you apply yourself, if you are brave enough, if you are well enough prepared, if you are conscious enough, if you have the heart for your fellow man and your fellow sister to make the sacrifice to do what needs to be done. Each and any one of us can be that hero where people will talk of us in years to come that, hey, this brother and that sister, do you know what they did? And do you know how important that was in our struggle?
Put in the work. Them put in the work.
Any one of us can be a hero. Are you brave enough to step up?
Big up a Usain Bolt. Big up a Shelley. You understand? And all of the athletes them that is stepping up and keeping Jamaica in the forefront of the world's mind. You know, see, they are the modern day, what you would say, heroes that youths can look to aspire to be and see that there's a path out of poverty. See, and use that as a lesson, a life lesson, because we're not just promoting sports and that is the only avenue. We're talking about the work ethic. The work ethics of an athlete.
Of a successful athlete.
Has to be very devoted.
Yep. Disciplined.
You understand?
Committed.
And that is what it takes for any success in life. You have to be devoted. And
overcome many obstacles.
And put in the work. You understand? It's not just another support.
Years and years and years and years of work.
Yeah, man, another support to get him going. You understand? It's not simple stuff. You have to put in that work. You have to be devoted. And
do your homework.
Yeah, man, go through the ranks and climb to the higher heights.
That's what we're talking about.
Thank you, gentlemen. This has been a riveting session. And, you know, we have different directions that we can go from here. I mean, we sports now, but that will take another session. So thank you very much. Courtney, can you close off, please?
Yes, just like to thank you again, Jabulani and Priest Dougie, for being here with us. I know that Jabulani will be coming back on the Marcus Garvey Day celebration. And just before we leave our closeout, Jabulani, just tell them about the event at Miramar Cultural Center again. Just remind them.
Yeah, it's the Marcus Garvey Roots Extravaganza 2022. Oh, you can't see that. Okay. 2022 is happening Wednesday, August 17th at the Miramar Multi-Service Complex, 6700 Miramar Boulevard in Miramar. It starts at 7 p.m., runs until 10 p.m. Entry is free. If you can't get there, you can see it streaming live at IRILivestream.com or on the Roots Foundation Facebook page. So, you know, be there one way or the other. And for more info, you can call 754-264-2205.
Come out and support the vendors, them and the sponsors, you know? Yeah, and then make it possible. So we give thanks to all our sponsors. Yeah.
So, yeah, go ahead and talk about the book. You know, let people know where they can acquire the book.
Okay, for the book also.
Yes, you can show us the book also too. Yeah.
But I don't think it's going to show up, you know, because every time I hold up things here, it kind of whites out.
Yeah. Okay.
Pull back. Yeah, right there, so yeah.
Okay, this is the book, Rastafari in the 21st Century. Call that phone number 754-264-2205 or email roots with a Z, ROOTZ Foundation @gmail.com, and you can order the book. We will send it to you, or you can find it online at Amazon or at Barnes & Noble Books online. Get your e-copy today.
Yes, with all this, you know, we have come to the end of our program and the Real Stuff podcast. Back to you, Flavis.
Yes, gentlemen, again, thank you. And Courtney will be in touch with you so we can, you know, have you back to continue this discussion. This is a very powerful discussion, and everybody needs to be hearing all about this. Thank you very much.
My brother. Okay. Give thanks.
Peace and love.
Bless.
You lead us song full. You belong far away away. Ajugwala lebabu seru. Lida mua, lida song full. Lida mua, lida song full.
Well, unfortunately, this is it. Till next time. Bless.
All you gotta do is just speak. One word is enough, and I'm no longer sorrow. I forget what I was trying to say. I no longer do what I was gonna do, but you're no good for me. That's why me know set me if it go flee. Me have to take away me say. Me have to take away me say. Me have to hide like a thief in the night. Me have to get out of